The expense to drive an hour and a half each way for help is tremendous. Most people who are seeking our services have bills. They don't have time to go back to school for 2 or 4 years before they can leverage that credential. I think everyone deserves an opportunity to thrive. And I think everyone deserves to be supported if they need help. And we have an ability to do that. The advent and implementation of artificial intelligence is going to change workforce in ways people don't understand.
Welcome back to the NEI Pioneer Podcast. This podcast showcases and shares the people and the stories in Northeast Indiana. Today, Jonathan is joined by guest co-host Jacob Ihrie. They lead a great conversation with one of our office space neighbors, Edmond O'Neill, CEO of Northeast Indiana Works. Although Edmond was not born and raised in Northeast Indiana, he is passionate about making it a better place every day through his work. NEI Works is the region's nonprofit workforce development organization. They provide financial and employment resources for education and skills training. They do this through workshops, training resources, and assisting individuals in their job search. If you're interested in workforce development or just curious about advice on changing up your career path, this episode is for you. Jonathan and Jacob, take it away.
Edmond O'Neill, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We were just joking with you that I've been trying to get you on for over a year, but I keep forgetting to ask, which isn't true because I have asked. Our schedules around here, and I know your schedule.
Well, two men hard at work, right?
That's right, and Jake, and I'm joined today by Jake.
Hello.
Hi, Jake.
It's nice to see you. I feel like you had to make quite the trip to get here.
I know. It was a long walk down the hallway.
That hallway is brutal. Through the kitchen. President of Northeast Indiana Works.
Yes.
And how long have you been president there?
5 years.
Wow.
But
okay.
You've worked there for
17.
Wow. Okay, so before we get into all the questions that we have, and I think they shared some of them with you, I got to talk about this first. Your temperament. I've been in meetings with you and everything. I don't know how you do it. Like, I've never seen you angry.
You just don't look hard enough.
Is that it? So it's on me now. Well, now you're picking a fight.
No, I definitely get bothered. I try not to get angry at all.
I think everybody's got their own leadership style. Yours seems to be remain calm, cool, and collected.
I do. I've had a lot of life experiences, and I've just learned that the highs and lows of emotions don't really help you. Mm-hmm. That's not always a good thing, right? Like my wife would probably say I'm not emotional enough. But
well, we didn't ask her, so continue.
Yeah, get her in here. We're going to ask her next.
Being angry impacts your ability to process thoughts. So I'd much rather just continue to work through the work of whatever it is. There are plenty of things I dislike, plenty of things I disagree with. I also accepted early on most people don't care about what I dislike or disagree with. So I try to listen. I try to understand what I can impact and focus on that.
That's great. Okay, so, and then I also have to ask about the boards. We started to talk about this a little bit. I had no idea. How many boards are you on right now?
Hold on.
Oh my God.
we have some written down. If you need some memories jogged.
I believe 6 not-for-profit, 1 for-profit, and I'll be joining another one in January.
Wow. Okay. Motivating. What makes you take that time to do that? Because I'm sure the time.
So
crunch.
some of it is personal interest. Mm-hmm. Some of it is work related. Truthfully, one of the boards I sit on, which I think is a phenomenal organization, Cuesta, in our community, has a direct tie to our function. Mm-hmm. Their goal is to ensure we have a good labor supply that stays in Northeast Indiana. Well, it makes sense for me to serve on that board based on what we do as a workforce development organization. Another one, which is actually the lunch I just came back from, is Erin's House for Grieving Children. I think it's a phenomenal organization. Everyone in our community has been impacted by grief. at some point. If they haven't, they will be
Right.
at some point. So organizations, especially those that serve children, in times of grief, I think are unique. There's not organizations like that in every community, and we have one of the premier organizations in the country. Erin's House was the 32nd grief center opened in the United States. And I know that because the executive director said it today. It's not something I've committed to memory. Now there's over 400.
Wow.
And it is an example of, it is an industry leader, actually, amongst grief centers in the United States, and it's here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I think those are things that we have to both promote, continue to build, and maintain in our community.
Is that about preventative maintenance or after the fact dealing, or both?
It's after the fact dealing.
Okay.
I believe all of the families have already experienced grief. Majority of the services are for children. It's a center for grieving children. But there are also services that support the parents or, relative that brings that child to programming.
So it's like clearly like that you're very passionate about that board in particular. Is there a reason that you got involved with them, or?
So I'm actually pretty passionate about all of the boards I serve on. I'm a 3-time board member at Erin's House.
Gotcha.
And not like my second re-up. Like I cooled off and I went back. It's the first organization I got connected to when I moved to Fort Wayne in 2008. So I've seen the growth and development of that organization, as well as the impact, almost what I would consider over a longitudinal study type time. And I've seen how many young people it impacts, and how those people go on to impact our community. So it's just a phenomenal organization. And, having a child, my son is 12 now, but since his birth, it changed my perspective of the world, and how young people interact in the world. So it's only become more near and dear to my heart. And like I said, they also just do a really, really good job of the work they do in our community.
Excellent. Well, let's go back in time a little bit. So you moved here. Where did you grow up?
I'm originally from Flint, Michigan.
Okay.
So I was born and raised in Flint, Michigan. I left there and went to undergrad in California when I was 17.
Was that a scholarship?
I did. I played sports. I played football. So I was a scholarship student athlete at Stanford University for 4 years. After that, I moved to Texas, actually. I lived in Texas for 5 years, and then I moved here. I moved here in 2008.
Yeah.
What keeps you here?
I like it. I am in Fort Wayne because I enjoy being here.
And you came here for the gig?
No.
I
was what would probably now be considered quasi-trailing spouse. I was engaged to be married at the time to my wife now. And she was supposed to move to Texas, actually. That is when the NBA was spinning up the D-League, is what it was called back then. And there was a team coming to Fort Wayne that was yet to be named and yet to be advertised. And the family that was the ownership group of that team connected with my wife and interviewed. They took her to lunch, basically, and talked to her about what was about to happen and asked her if she would work for them. 2 weeks before she's supposed to move to Texas.
Oh, wow.
So where was that in a lease signing?
1 month prior.
So she called me. I will never forget it. She called and said, "Hey, I just had this really interesting meeting with this guy." And she had worked in sports administration for a number of sports teams before that. And they want me to work for this team that the NBA is about to start in Fort Wayne. And I didn't believe her. I'm like, the NBA is not putting a team in Fort Wayne, number one. And she said, no, it's not an NBA team. It's like a developmental team. So she explained all these things to me and then said, but I'm not going to take the job. I'm going to come to Texas. And I said, you didn't call me to tell me you did all this, but you don't want the job. So, we talked about it, and I said, hey, I'll move to Fort Wayne. I didn't know much about Fort Wayne. I'm from the Midwest, so I understood Midwest, culture. I'd been to Indiana several times, to Indianapolis, but I had only been to Fort Wayne maybe 2 or 3 times to visit her. And but at the time, my grandfather had just been diagnosed with terminal stage 4 cancer. So I said, if I move to Fort Wayne, the city I'm from is a little under 3 hours away from here. I said, so it'll allow me to drive home and help my mother, be a caretaker for my grandfather, at least on the weekends, to give her a break, because it was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job for her until he passed away. So that's what I did. Took me a couple of months to transition. But I moved here, started working for a different company when I first got here, and I've been here ever since.
So the job and the home is working out then. All right, good.
Yep, definitely worked out.
Okay, so let's talk about let's talk about NEI Works.
Yep.
So tell us all about it.
So Northeast Indiana Works is a domestic not-for-profit. We are a 501c3 that covers an 11-county area in Northeast Indiana, focusing on workforce development services. And that is a plethora of functions. Some of it involves the oversight of service delivery in the WorkOne Northeast Career Centers, which federally are known as American Job Centers. And then also supporting individuals and employers in labor pool support, providing labor market information, facilitating incumbent worker training. We facilitate grant opportunities from the state of Indiana, either through the Department of Workforce Development or other departments, and a number of other kind of actions and functions that employers need. We also work hand in hand with the Indiana Economic Development Corporation to support business retention and expansion visits, as well as attraction projects.
Can you talk more about the WorkOne centers?
Yeah.
Like how many are there? Where are they at?
So right now, like I said, we cover an 11-county region. We have a WorkOne center in every county, but they are not all kind of built the same, so to speak. There are 3 what we call comprehensive sites and then 8 affiliate sites. The comprehensive sites are what I would consider full service. You can get the menu of services of everything we do at that site. And those offices are in DeKalb County, in Auburn, in Allen County, in Fort Wayne, and then Grant County in Marion. The other offices, like I said, are a reduced schedule as well as reduced services. And in many instances, they're just smaller physically. But it is my belief that because we cover a decently large geographical area, we need to have services available to people in their community. We're not able to have multiple offices in individual counties, but at least people know they can be serviced in their county. We don't have people driving 2 or 3 hours to get to an office to seek support, especially if they may not be employed at the time.
And we've talked about this before because I'm a rural guy. We live in a mixed urban rural region, and that's a huge barrier is how do you get people from one county to the next when they don't have a car? It's not like they can, CityLink I think stopped services before Auburn, right? So
absolutely.
It's just how do you navigate that and
Well, I mean, even beyond that though, we serve both people who are employed and people who aren't. So, if I am not working, whether it's through my own doing or not, and I have not been working for several weeks or several months or several years for some people, the expense to drive an hour and a half each way for help is tremendous, right? Like you've already probably had to downsize some portions of your life. You may not have cable. Most people keep their cell phones. But people have to make fiscal adjustments to their life when they're not working. And having to make a 3-hour round trip drive for help just doesn't make sense to me.
So okay, when you're one of the biggest things that changes for me when I came here, because I did a lot of CPG, which is consumer packaged goods, so there's my acronym in there. But
Proud
you
of
know,
you.
thanks. One of the things that I found was that there isn't a finish line for us necessarily, yeah, or there's several finish lines, but then you got to get to the next one.
Right.
And can you talk a little bit about that, because in your career with what you're doing here, I mean, how do you know you're moving the needle?
Well, we see the impacts. Our population grows. I mean, quality of place work, it gets shunned sometimes as, it shouldn't be part of economic or workforce development. Well, the reality of it is human capital is a huge part
Right.
of economic development, and it is workforce development. And quality of place matters. Like, quality of place is what retains people and attracts people.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission is develop, attract, and retain talent. Those are people.
Right.
So, growing our population to me is an indicator of success, but also just directly the feedback we hear from the people we serve and the employers we serve. Do they feel like our services help? Do we help prepare people to be employable, not only in a job, but in a real career pathway? Are the employers we work with satisfied with the materials we produce, the labor market information we give them, the connectivity to funding that they get for their incumbent workforce? Sometimes we just act as a liaison explaining what is happening with state government. There's a number of ways we receive feedback. We are actually held to a federal performance standard for the work that happens in the WorkOne Center. And it is tied to individual achievement. So of the people we quote unquote enroll, there is a job placement criteria that we have to meet, a measurable skills gain criteria that we have to meet. There's actually 2 job placements. There's one in the second quarter after exit and the fourth quarter. A measurable skills gain, and then a median wage. So not only, are we kind of scaled or graded by our community, but the federal government has very hard statistics to determine if we are making an impact or not.
Okay, that's good. I never knew that. And then when you're talking about your organization versus similar ones, what do you think makes you guys unique?
Honestly, the biggest thing that makes us unique is we do it all the time. There has been a ton of engagement in workforce, quote unquote, efforts in the last several years. Majority of the people doing this work were nowhere to be found in 2009 during the recession. So this is our mission, day in, day out. We serve people who, I was at a WorkOne Center one time, honestly, just observing staff, right? It was before I was in the role I am in now. I was our COO. So it was my job to, conduct the trains, right? Make sure everything comes in when it's supposed to, goes out when it's supposed to, and everybody's doing their job. And I listened. I was sitting on the other side of a barrier listening to one of our staff in a particular office meet with a customer. She asked him about his job history. When we meet with people, we ask them about their 3-year job history, just to get a baseline for where they've worked, what their skills may be, et cetera. And the gentleman said, 3 years. These were his exact words. He said, hell, I've had 30 jobs in 3 years. And I went, oh my gosh. Like, this is what our staff are dealing with.
Yeah.
Like, people who have had, in some instances, not all, but 30 jobs in 3 years.
I don't know what that equates to per day.
I'm trying to figure that out myself. 'Cause it's like,
We're all reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Let's see, there's 12 months in a year.
it's 156 weeks.
Yeah,
One job every 5 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, right? But it's right there in front of you. This is the reality of the community.
Well,
I still think I'm getting fired every day, and it keeps me up at night.
we
so
keep
that's
trying to
crazy.
fire Jake. He just keeps.
That
We
is
fired him
why-
last month. He's still here. I don't know why.
Haven't got a paycheck, still waiting.
Did you get a stapler?
So
It's red. Just keep it.
we're not gonna finish that movie here. So like with that though, what differentiates the workforce in your region that makes your job easier?
Well, I think the biggest thing that makes our job easier is we are well into our regionalism efforts. That probably started with the advent of then the Northeast Indiana Regional Partnership. There has been so many community leaders and ambassadors that have both valued, championed, and promoted regionalism for us, and a spirit of working together and collaboration that it makes our job. I don't feel like I compete with anybody. Even if it's another organization that is doing similar efforts.
Private recruiters, anything like that?
Doesn't matter. In a competition, you keep a score and somebody wins and somebody loses. That's how I look at it. Because I was a competitor majority of my life. And with the efforts of workforce development and even economic development, there aren't losers. We all win. The rising tide lifts all boats. So I don't think we're in competition. And in fact, there's plenty of times I'll try to help, people who do similar things as us, because I also understand I don't have the capacity to serve everybody. And not only that, there are some organizations where people are comfortable going there versus to a WorkOne center.
Right.
Just because of their own individual life. So if a person would rather go to place X than our center, I would much rather that place be well-equipped and knowledgeable equally as us, because that means that person gets good service.
Right.
And that's really how I look at it.
I also saw that you guys also help out youth, and you get a youth program. One of the things that we talked about was manufacturing begins with me. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I'll go back a little bit first. We do support youth programming by statute. So we are funded by a federal act called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act, or WIOA for short. Within that act, there is a funding mechanism to support youth services. But there's also a restriction that we cannot do it directly. And it's one of the things I am often critical of people who sit in a room and create rules that have never actually done the work.
Well, yeah, I was just going to ask why. What's the
And how does
defensive move that they would do that?
So this one I actually agree with and support. The rationale behind it is, our WorkOne Northeast Career Centers or American Job Centers are sterile. They're built for adults. So they're not a place that a child would be comfortable or feel received in at all. In fact, like I said, my son is 12. I can only imagine, my son being 12 or 13 or 14, and he's sitting next to a 50-year-old who just lost their job. That wouldn't be a comfortable environment for him. So there are restrictions on youth services that essentially say we have to, RFP it out to youth-serving agencies. So these should be people who are subject matter experts in dealing with children or young adults who are more effective and understand how to both do outreach and marketing to them, but also provide services and understand the wraparound services those people need to be successful. So we do fund almost $2 million a year in youth programming, but we filter that through another organization here in town, and they cover our 11-county region as well.
So can you give me, can you say what organization
Yeah,
that
it's
is?
Brightpoint.
Oh, okay.
The organization is Brightpoint. And they have been our partner for a number of years.
What do you think? So, workforce is changing. And when in our last meeting with the colleges and universities, the 10 or 11 in our backyard here, they were talking about how typically right now college entry-level freshmen, they're not coming. They're not going to college.
Right.
So attendance is down around the country. Right. Here, Trine is kicking it. They're killing it. They've got more freshmen than they've ever had coming in. But how can we talk a little bit about how the landscape is changing and how that's affecting you guys? Because it seems like nationally that college isn't as important as it was maybe when we were growing up.
Well, I guess first I have to give my disclaimer. I have 3 degrees. So I think higher education is extremely important. In fact, I worked in higher education when I lived in Texas. So I think that level of education is very important and very appropriate for those who are in career pathways that require it. I think the challenge, and maybe the pendulum has swung a little bit too far out of the middle, is, there were people who were enrolling in post-secondary education for careers that didn't need it. We are a short-term credential agency. We support almost 95.5 from a percentage standpoint. Short-term credential attainment versus traditional semester-based education. And our main reason for doing it is not that we don't support traditional education. It's that most people who are seeking our services have bills. And so they don't have time to go back to school for 2 or 4 years before they can leverage that credential. So they need a short-term credential that makes them hireable or employable, in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 14 weeks, so they can get back into the market, and start earning revenue. So, I think education is important. I know young people, I've been part of a number of studies or been in audiences of other places that did studies and then communicated the information out about why young people are not going to college. One, it is expensive, right? It's extremely expensive. Some people are fortunate enough to have families that can help them. Most aren't. Some of them don't see the relevance. Some of it is just tied to the economy, truthfully. Our economy has been in a growth phase longer than it ever has been.
Arguably too long.
Right. Yeah. So, if you're new in a labor market, and even whether you're a teenager or in your early 20s or not, if I can go get a job without going to school, what is incentivizing me to go?
Right. Money overnight, education over time.
Right.
Perhaps.
So I think most people, a lot of young people now, or at least historically over the last, 5 to 7 years went, why do I need to go? I can go work there today without it.
And get a check.
Yeah. I had to interrupt the podcast to share the exciting news. We officially have our 2026 Pioneer nominees. Now, we will be announcing these soon, but in the meantime, my team and I are working behind the scenes to film and tell their pioneering stories. You might be wondering where you come in, and I'm glad that you want to know. We will be releasing the video series telling each pioneer's story in the spring, along with opening up community voting to vote on each category winner. So we encourage everyone to first of all subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is where we're going to be posting the video series. After you've watched the series, be sure to go to pioneerstartshere.com to vote on the category winners. The category winners, as well as the 2026 Pioneer of the Year, will all be announced at our May Pioneer Awards event. So those are the 3 things for you to do. First of all, subscribe to our channel, watch the video series, and vote on your 2026 Pioneers. Now let's jump back into this podcast.
Okay, you've been there 17 total years.
So actually, I've done the math. We've rebranded our name, but I've been with the organization for 15 years. I worked for a different company my first 2 years here in Fort Wayne.
Gotcha. Long time.
But that company was actually the service provider to our company.
And then, did you just transition over, or was that the organization was no longer needed?
No. I kind of got drafted. I went to a meeting. I think I proved my point in that meeting when others couldn't. Mm-hmm. And shortly thereafter, I went and worked for the board.
Very cool.
Did you want to play pro ball?
Yeah, I think every kid that plays sports wants to play pro ball at some point. But I realized I wasn't good enough, is the reality of it. You can work, and I don't say this to be negative, but there are many, every college scholarship athlete is tremendously talented. I mean, all of these, majority, if not all of these young men and women are people who stood out in their respective communities as athletes and probably as people. So all of them are together. Mm-hmm. In most professional sporting leagues, you are dealing with the 1%, of people who play that sport. And just because you were good enough to play in college does not mean you were good enough to be a professional. It doesn't mean you have the work ethic
Right.
that it takes to be a professional. And in some instances, it doesn't mean you just have the God-given talent. My wife's cousin is a professional basketball player. He is one of the hardest workers I've ever met that is a professional athlete. He's 25 years old. He's been in the NBA for 7 years.
Wow.
He's also 7 feet tall. If he was 5'8", didn't matter. It wouldn't matter how
Right.
hard he works.
That's the
Right.
only thing
You know,
holding me back. So,
So some of it is talent. Some of it is work ethic. In all honesty, the last piece is, being in circumstances that allow you to thrive. If he would have gone to a different college his freshman year, there's a chance he wouldn't have produced the same. And maybe he makes it to the NBA, maybe he doesn't.
Right.
So there's a number of factors I think that go into
And
it.
do you think that has kind of like informed your passion for this work? Because there are so many people who put their eggs in that basket, right? And then they get to the end of it. Like everyone knows the cliche of goes to college for football, gets a degree in underwater basket weaving or whatever. Like, do you think that's informed your career path at all?
No. I mean, I clearly didn't go to school just for sports. So, no, I don't think it has. For me, the work we do helps people, no differently than feeding people. I think everyone deserves an opportunity to thrive. And I think everyone deserves to be supported if they need help. And we have an ability to do that. And we always try to do the best we can at doing it.
I have kind of a two-part question for that then, because if you had one dream for your current role, is it? I'd like to know what that dream is, but a second part of that would be what's preventing you from making that happen?
Dream for my current role. You should have gave me these questions earlier.
No, these are all trick questions.
Well, I mean, we had a conversation kind of similar to this, and I think that list was really
So,
good.
I don't remember what I said.
Oh, that's a good idea. It was inspiring.
Well,
but
trust me, it was great.
I guess, for me, it would be to grow our organization. We're a really lean organization. We have approximately 50 staff across the region between our organization, the state agency, and our contracted service provider. But our organization, as an employer of record, only employs 13 people. So those 13 people do a lot of work, a tremendous amount of work between the employer support efforts, our industry and convening efforts, and then the management of the WorkOne career centers. I think all good leaders wishes they could pay their employees more. They earn it. They work really hard. And we talk about, even with our employees in the WorkOne centers, it is very clear you didn't take this job because you wanted to be a millionaire.
Right.
You are a servant. This is a human service job. So if we could reward our staff, in whatever way we could, whether it was compensation or free food, amenities that tech companies provide or things like that, to me, that would be ideal because I know how hard they work. And I know how much they impact the people that they serve because they come back and tell us after they find employment. So, for me, the dream would be to grow our organization, to have, I guess the other thing is, we are dealing with taxpayer dollars, right?
Right.
So,
That's what I was going to ask. How much that holds you back?
a lot.
Yeah.
It's because, there are fiscal rules about how you can spend tax dollars. I mean, you'll see I didn't wear a Northeast Indiana Works polo shirt or a button down because I can't buy one. That is not an allowable expenditure of federal dollars.
You're not throwing that at me, are you?
Well, you look nice
So,
in your outfit.
so we can make you one though as a gift.
See, that's what a backhanded compliment
you
sounds
could.
like, ladies and gentlemen.
But I look at it from a business standpoint, right?
100%.
Like when you are wearing merchandise, you are marketing your organization. You are making people aware of it that otherwise may not be aware. I can't do that. So I will never walk past someone and they go, hey, what is Northeast Indiana Works? Even though it may be very beneficial to their lives or someone else they know.
Yeah, and to that point, I've referred people to your centers, and no indictment. I didn't really know about your organization until I started here.
No, that's fair. So people in our community now, like last week, I probably did this, and I do it all the time. You know, I introduce our organization. I talk about the WorkOne centers, and you can see like the deer in the headlights kind of look for some people, and I go, the unemployment office. And they go, oh, yeah, I know what that is. And then I tell them, you can't do anything related to unemployment at that office. It's all employment and training. But that's what they know it as because 10 or 15 years ago, unemployment services were there. But again, the branding and the marketing, I'm not a marketing person. I don't like it because it's hard to measure it. And I'm a ROI person, so I'm like, okay, if I have to spend X, I want to know exactly what my return is. And it's hard to do that in marketing, right? But you know you have to do it, but it's hard to directly say, you know, we spent this much money on these 3 things and the exact results were these 9 things. That's just not how it works. But I understand the need for it, and I understand brand awareness, and that our community would probably be better off if they were using our services. Both people who are unemployed and even people who are employed and are looking for jobs. We had a virtual healthcare job fair, and it was in the early afternoon. And we did a survey of the attendees because it was virtual, so you could ask them, you know, whatever you wanted privately. 78% of those people were working, like they were at work when they were on the virtual job fair. Which means
that tell you?
They're looking to change positions or move up, or you know, have some type of differentiator in their career. So the services are applicable to everyone. You know, it's not just people who aren't working.
Going back to like the workforce thing, how everything you help currently employed people upskill, differentiate, along with the unemployed find jobs. Like looking into the crystal ball, like what is one thing that you want on everyone's radar in Northeast Indiana in your region for what the workforce is going to go to as you see it?
Well, it's going to sound cliche, but they have to continue to skill up. Lifelong learning is this cliche thing, but it is so applicable. The advent and implementation of artificial intelligence is going to change workforce in ways people don't understand. You know, the scare tactic is to tell people, oh, this new thing is going to make jobs go away. They said that about automation.
This is about digital.
Right. It doesn't make jobs go away. It may make a specific function go away, but it also requires new functions. And AI will impact labor. But it will also create new opportunities from a management and implementation standpoint of labor. So continue to learn, continue to be open to dealing with change. You know, there are some job functions or career pathways that are less impacted by artificial intelligence. But I am of the belief that AI will impact all of us in everything that we do. Whether it's next year or 5 years from now, it will. So understanding, you know, in whatever market they are looking at, you know, what are the impacts and how can I learn? I mean, the implementation of AI is literally leveling the playing field for everybody, right? If I am an entry-level worker versus a senior executive, if I master AI better than that senior executive, I'm probably going to get their job at some point, especially if they don't engage at all. Because I'm a front-end user. I know how to use all the equipment, and I know how to leverage the tool that they don't. So understanding artificial intelligence to me, or at least beginning to understand it. I mean, I spoke to a teacher yesterday, actually. I mean, they are teaching children how to use AI in school right now because their point is, look, they're going to use it anyway. So instead of them using it to do their work for them, let us teach them how to use it to be beneficial, and to be a complement and add on to their own work. And that is where we will be. Like, this is industry 4.0 on steroids, right? So I think lifelong learning and understanding AI will be the future for our workforce.
We jokingly call ChatGPT Chad, and he's our favorite coworker.
Yeah.
So we get it. It's not very nice though. So what is the favorite part of your job? Because we both, like, everyone here works in those, like, kind of esoteric people professions.
Seeing people succeed.
Yeah.
There's nothing like hearing someone's success story. And we've received very sizable grant. I mean, you're happy when you get money and all those things, but hearing a person talk about their struggle, their success, and then how it allows them to support themselves and or their family is one of the best feelings in the world.
Do you have a favorite success story you can share with us?
I don't know that I have a favorite, because they're all great. But there was one recently. There was a woman who worked in manufacturing in a rural community, and her employer had scheduled them, and they had been doing this for some time. She worked 6/12s a week, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and she had been doing it for months. And she came into our office and said, I don't even know what day it is half the time, let alone can actually engage with my children. My day off, I pay bills, I clean, and then I go back to work. So she wanted to transition to healthcare, and it wasn't that she lost her job or she didn't make good money. It was a quality of life issue for her. So we helped her do that. And she is thriving in the healthcare system that she works in now. She's actually come back and spoken to other participants in our programming about transitioning careers and what that looks like, and kind of demystified some of the thoughts of starting over, so to speak. So I think her story is pretty cool to me, just because it's not what you think of. It's not a person who didn't have a job or got laid off or were terminated and we helped them find a job. No, this was a woman who was doing really well and who had a family, but she couldn't enjoy it. And now she's happy. Like, she's happy. Her children are happy. Ideally, her children will probably want to follow her footsteps, from a career standpoint. I guarantee you they didn't want to go work at the factory for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Wow. And so we're getting into the rapid wrap-up, which Jake is going to take you through in a second. But because our viewership, we get all ages, right? And we get a lot of college students. What piece of advice would you give to people coming up? Uh-oh.
I see a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of needs that people have. One, it's kind of the old adage of athletes, be coachable. You're not perfect. No one is. So be open to feedback. To work hard. Like work ethic has waned in a lot of folks. So the interest in working hard and the stick-to-itiveness to be consistent in it has disappeared in a number of ways. So, working hard, being consistent, understanding how to communicate. A lot of people can no longer communicate, especially in a group setting. So having those kind of what I would consider traditional employability skills, and then having a plan. A lot of people reach various levels in their life without a plan. I'm a great example of it. My whole life as a child, I was told you will go to college. Okay. Then I got to college, and that was it. Like, there was no plan after that.
Mm-hmm.
I got here, now what?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking, I was like, I'm here. What am I supposed to do now? Graduate?
Right. Right. Oh, good. There's a plan.
Right. So have a plan. You know, have a plan, and if you don't have a plan, ask someone for help. Like, be comfortable asking for help. There's nothing wrong with that.
You know, I love it the way you said that. Edmond, congratulations on your success, and we love having you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No. We're going to have you back again.
Okay.
So it'll probably be just me, though.
I'll fight for you, Jake.
No, you don't have to, because keep up the attitude. You'll be fighting them.
Okay, let's get into rapid wrap-up.
Okay. Are you a lake person or a hiking person?
Lake.
Fortunate in Northeast Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're going to go see a show, Embassy or the Clyde?
Clyde.
I'm 2 for 2 so far.
Yeah, no. Winter's coming up, so that might date the episode on the release schedule. Sorry.
Ice skating or
What is the underrated winter activity in Northeast Indiana?
This is a hard one. So I used to ski growing up, but there's I don't believe there's anywhere to ski in Northeast Indiana. So I'm definitely not an ice skater. I'd have to say sledding, I guess.
Wrong answer.
I'm sorry, you can't be back on the show now. It's over.
This one I'm going to push back on you. Ice fishing is the right answer.
No, it's not.
Do you want to go sometime?
No.
I've been ice fishing.
I'll go with you, Jake.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah, in a shanty? Were you in a shanty?
I was actually in a really nice shanty. A friend of mine lives in Minnesota. He is actually now a high school principal. He used to be a high school football coach, but he also played for the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh.
So he's got a bunch of toys,
Yeah.
right? One of them is a very nice trailer that sits down and has hatches you can open to ice fish through from inside. It was cool, but not something
I don't like to be cold.
all the time.
Yeah.
Invite canceled. Okay. So you went to Stanford,
I did.
lived in Texas.
I did.
UNT.
I worked at UNT and TCU.
So
Oh, wow.
Texas barbecue, California burritos.
I got to answer this to the state I want to go back to, right?
Can we add Whataburger to that, too?
Yeah, Whataburger is not competing with Texas barbecue, or I wouldn't say a California burrito. Street tacos, I would say, are better than burritos.
Well, and that's
to
the
me.
thing is I didn't remember where Stanford was.
It's in Northern California,
Northern.
in Palo Alto.
So that's more like that Mission style burrito,
Yeah,
which
it's in the Bay.
not as
Yes, I'm not a burrito guy, so I'd say Texas barbecue, but California street tacos are pretty close.
okay. So I'm gonna write down wrong question. here.
Thanks again for being on, man. And we're going to get you back on, for sure?
Absolutely, I
Excellent.
will definitely come back.
Hopefully
my
with a
friend.
branded shirt.
It'd be nice. It'd be
You
nice.
know, we know some pretty good...
Write your local elected official.
we know some people...
Christmas is right around the corner.
We know some people are pretty good at branding.
I agree.
Thank you so
do.
much.
It's nothing.